What's happening, guys? It's Nagpal for iGyaan.in, and now there's been a recent surge of full-frame cameras in the market, with Canon announcing the 6D, Sony talking about their new fully featured Alpha 99. But I think what has really happened is Nikon has really taken the market by storm this year, announcing their D800 earlier this year, which had interesting video capabilities. They've now come out with the lightest and possibly the cheapest full-frame SLR camera into the market. Now, this is the D600. It's a full-frame 24 megapixel sensor-based camera, and it's essentially based on the D7000. It's the body, the size is of the D7000, but this one adds a bunch of features, including nifty video features, into an SLR body. Since SLR video has become really the thing nowadays, the D600 brings all of that into a package which costs 1,60,000 rupees, including the kit lens, or a price of about 1,20,000 for the body only. So let's see how it fares in our video review. The D600 hardware specifications. Now, on the inside of the Nikon D600, you have a 24.3 megapixel sensor, which is a full-frame CMOS sensor. Now, you also have the new XP3 processor inside the camera. You also have tons of new video features, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Let's essentially talk about the body. The body of the D600 is a mix of plastic, a little bit of metal, and a weather-sealed magnesium alloy top. So it's essentially weather-sealed. It's water and dust resistant, but the shell itself is polycarbonate in the front and plastic in the back. You do have a contrast detect sensor. It does also have face detect autofocus, but it's not as fast as the face detect we see on Sony SLT cameras. It's still pretty good. It has a multi-area autofocus as well. You also have selective single point. You have tracking. You have single, continuous, and face detection. Tons of things there. You don't have digital zoom, but then you can use your lenses to zoom in and zoom out. So you have a ton of Nikon FX lenses available for the camera. It's an F mount. Non-full frame lenses will also work, but FX lenses are essentially what this camera is made for. Now on the back, you have a 3.2-inch 921,000 dot TFT LCD monitor, like any other monitor available in the market today. Unfortunately, it's not a touchscreen monitor, so you don't have all those tap to focus type features. But essentially, if you're a full frame camera shooter, you don't look for these gimmicky things. You look for more capability of the camera than a touchscreen monitor, for example. Now, you do have an optical pentaprism viewfinder, which does give you 100% coverage. And let's talk about the photography features. Now, you have a minimum shutter speed of 30 seconds. Which is great. You also have various exposure modes on the top. So you have program, shutter priority, aperture priority. The dial on the top is also locked so that you don't accidentally move it. You also have a built-in pop-up flash, which is decent enough up to about 10 meters. But if you want further flash, you need to mount an external flash or use a wireless flash. Now you have multiple drive modes. So let's talk about what essentially is the maximum use. You're going to use single frame at most of the times, but you have this convenient dial which is also locked, which lets you choose from continuous low speed, continuous high speed, mirror up, which is essentially it shoots without the mirror, so that's the fastest you can get at. And then you have quiet shutter release for places where you want low noise. So for example, if you're shooting in a church or in a library, you can use a quiet shutter release. It also has 5.5 frames per second, so you can get up to 1:5 frames per second on continuous drive. You also get things like a self timer, and you have multiple metering modes. So center weighted, average, and spot metering is also available. Now let's talk about video. It captures full HD video at 1920 by 1080 at 30, 25, or 24 FPS, and 1280 by 720 video at 60, 50, 30, or 25 FPS. Now you do have a mono mic and a mono speaker, which is on the body of the camera. If you are a professional video user, you'll use the inbuilt audio and mic inputs, which is absolutely brilliant. So you have audio monitoring and a mic input on the camera, which is located conveniently on the left of the camera. You can open this flap up, you can add your headphones, you can add a 3.5mm mic input, You also have an HDMI out which streams unbuffered 1080 to an external recorder or an external LCD if you have one of those. You also have a USB port with which you can add a GPS or a Wi-Fi adapter, which is again available in the market. You also have a proprietary connection for the GPS adapter, again conveniently inside the body. The ergonomics of the camera are slightly better than the ones we saw on the D7000. The camera is easily held up and has a good shutter button position. If you have slightly smaller hands, you'll have a problem with the video button, which is located at a weird place, and also the metering button, which is again a slight bit further from where it typically would be. Exposure value compensation is at a great location, so that won't be an issue. Now if we talk about the front of the camera, you do have a flash button, you have a bracketing button, and you have a selector for autofocus and manual focus, along with a quiet press function button that lets you change your settings while you are shooting. So you can change from photo modes, white balance settings, ISO settings. All these buttons which are on the back of the camera over here easily allow you to change all those settings. Now the viewfinder is ideally located, and so is the diopter adjustment, so you won't have any problems with that. You have an AE/AF lock button, which is also absolutely brilliant. You also have a live viewfinder mode, so it lets you choose between photo and video. You can choose live view for photographs or for video, again, which is decent. If you're clicking pictures with live view, you will see that focusing is slightly slower than it will be on the optical viewfinder. It is much faster on that, but it works nonetheless on this. You get great picture effects in terms of when you're clicking through the picture. You see exactly what the frame is going to build on the LCD of the camera, which is great. On the top also you have a nice multi-information LCD which is backlit. So it gives you lots of details, it gives you your ISO, it gives you a number of shots left, white balance settings, image size settings, it gives you details on the battery, it gives you your f-stop along with your shutter speed. So all those details again on the top, so you don't essentially need to look back at your screen because if you're not in live view, most of the time your screen is going to be off. Now if you jump into the menu, you have tons of options again there. You also have an info button to turn on the details on the back of the camera. It gives you all the selectable settings along with what your current position is, but it just stays on for a couple of seconds and goes out, unlike other cameras where it just stays there until you click a picture and then it gives you a preview. In this, most of the time the LCD will be off. You do have options to change that, but essentially it'll be off. On the back of the camera, conveniently, and in the front under the shutter button, you have two dials which will help you adjust between your f-stop. It'll help you adjust between your white balance, so white balance type and the quantity. All those things can be adjusted with the camera. The body of the camera with the battery weighs in at about 760 grams. Add the lens, which is almost the same weight, about 800 grams. It gives you a camera which is about 1.6 kilograms in your hand. Makes it quite heavy. In fact, it does feel really robust. It feels like a great full frame SLR in the hand, but it is quite heavy, and prolonged usage might deter some people from getting this camera. Overall, the Nikon is a great competitor in the market, and if you're in for a full frame sensor, this is the best price versus value that you will get. There are certain things that are lacking from the camera, and we'll talk about that. But let's get into performance of photos and videos before we conclude this video. Despite the fact that the camera clicks crispy 24.3 megapixel pictures, which are mostly in focus, autofocusing is fast and accurate. The autofocus area is smaller than you would see on a traditional full frame SLR. So you will notice that focus is essentially more or less in the center, despite the 11 cross type focus points. They are not widely spread, so you will get accurate focus, but only in a smaller distance. Or a smaller part of the frame, which is sort of a limiting factor unless that is all you're looking for. You do have a certain bit of color variation when it comes to clicking pictures outdoors. Unless you're playing a lot with settings at all times, you will notice a big difference in color. It almost oversaturates the colors at most times. It gives you a vignetting sort of feel, whether it's because of the lens, the kit lens, or whether it's in the camera itself. We don't know. We did notice that if we turn up D-lighting and auto correction up to full, the camera does improve the photo performance, but then we kept it at off at all times. So we had vignetting control kept on off, We had noise reduction kept on off, we had high ISO kept on off. So essentially without noise reduction, without vignetting control, when you click images in RAW, you will notice that it does vignette a lot. It does create a oversaturated image. But if you turn on all the settings, if you turn it on high, you will notice a slight loss of detail, but you will notice that it controls the vignetting, it controls the oversaturation to quite an extent, but not all the way. With multiple lenses, you can use a fixed size full frame lens as well. So you have a wider aperture based lens that will give you exceptionally nice detail with crispy low light performance. You will not be disappointed with the kind of performance in terms of shooting that you get from this. At 5 frames per second, it's not the fastest full frame camera in the market, but it is a great competitor for the price. Now, it is the cheapest full frame SLR that you can get with the kind of features it does have. You have full manual control on video, but it is lacking a couple of features. So well, Nikon has done a great deal giving you complete control over movie options. You have ISO settings directly while shooting video. You have audio control, so you have audio level control, input, output, you can measure that while capturing video. Again, you have ISO settings, shutter speed settings, white balance settings, all of them are there, but Nikon did not add aperture control on video, which will be a big letdown for those who are looking to buy the D600 purely for video performance. Although we must add that phase detect autofocus while on video is pretty good. You will also notice that there is a lot of aliasing while shooting video. Although moire is under control, but you will also notice that there is a big shutter roll when you're moving videos from left to right, which might be a slight bit of disappointment while capturing video. While clicking images or while capturing video, you will notice that the background blurring is absolutely phenomenal on the camera. You have immense amount of bokeh effect, which will ensure that the subject in focus gets all the attention, whereas the background gets no attention. You can obviously control that depending on the lens that you have, depending on the settings on the camera, but essentially if that's something that you're looking for, videographers fight to get that in most of the scenarios, but with the D600 you will get that right out of the box. Outdoors, you will need an ND filter. Once you set your aperture, once you set your lighting, once you set your shutter speed, you will need a ND filter to ensure that you get a decent amount of background blur. The included lens is a nice versatile 24 to 85 mm lens. You do get an f-stop of 3.5 to 4.5. It's a very good lens for photo as well as for video. It is slightly on the heavier side, but it gives you a lot of flexibility. It is a full frame lens. If you don't want to go in for the kit lens, you can get a prime and a zoom lens, which will help you a lot more. Prime lenses will be great for street photography, will be great for a fixed purpose, even greater for video performance because of the low light, wide aperture detail that you will get from a prime lens. This lens is versatile, but is not the best for video. It's not the best for all sorts of photography ranges. It is a kit lens. It's essentially designed to complement on video as well as photograph, but it also does compromise on video performance and photo performance. So if you're looking for a camera professionally for photography purposes, and if you're upgrading from a Nikon, or possibly you already have a lot of lenses, you do have a 24 megapixel sensor with which you can crop further in, so that's good. You have great detail. Lots of detail on the camera. There's almost no lighting issues when we click against the sunlight. So in terms of that, in terms of performance, we honestly have no complaints with the D600 because it has the fixes for its problems inbuilt into the camera already. Apart from the fact that there is no aperture control on video, which we would have really loved. We used this when we traveled to Singapore for the HTC event, so I would have loved to have aperture control during video performance. That would have been great to capture video, but it's just not there. You can set it before you start capturing video and it'll give you that detail. So the D600, a great competitor at the price that it's at. You have to spend about 1.6, including the kit lens, or about 120 for the body itself. It gives you a full frame sensor. It gives you all video control options except for aperture control. It gives you great image performance, great detail, a great low light performance, as well as almost no noise. So from ISO 100 to up to about 12,000, you have almost no issues with noise performance. There's absolutely crispy images. absolute amount of detail. You will start to notice a little bit of noise in the back color, but essentially you will get a lot of detail all the way up. Capture all our sample images on iGyaan. We'll also put in some video samples within this video, as well as separately on our channel on YouTube, and it'll be on the iGyaan review page. This was the Nikon D600, and until I see you next time, guys, this has been Bharat Nagpal. Thank you guys for watching.